Aaron sat inside the small research ship as it cut through the quiet air of the alien world. The sky above was a deep shade of violet, and two suns gave the land a strange glow. His team had landed here to collect soil samples and record signs of life. For Aaron, it was his first time setting foot on a planet so far from Earth. He felt both nervous and excited. The rest of the crew moved ahead, scanning the rocks and strange plants. The air was heavy but breathable. Every sound was sharp, as if the world itself was listening. Aaron bent down to study a bright blue flower that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. He was about to pick it when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned quickly and froze. A group of tall figures in silver armor surrounded him and his team. Their faces were hidden by masks, and in their hands they carried long, glowing staffs. The crew leader raised his hands, trying to show peace, but the armored beings did not speak. Instead, they formed a circle, blocking all exits. One of them pointed directly at Aaron. The guard stepped closer, grabbed his arm firmly, and pulled him away from the group. Aaron's crewmates shouted his name, but the guards pushed them back. The leader of the guards spoke in a strange language that Aaron did not understand, then gestured for him to follow. Aaron's heart raced. He wanted to resist, but something inside told him it would be wiser to stay calm. He looked at his crew one last time, trying to show them with his eyes that he would be fine. Then he allowed the guards to lead him away. They walked for what felt like hours, through forests of crystal-like trees and over bridges of stone that hung above glowing rivers. Aaron noticed that the guards treated him with care. They did not strike him or drag him harshly. It seemed as if they were protecting him rather than imprisoning him. Finally, they reached a towering palace carved into the side of a mountain. Its walls sparkled like glass, and tall towers reached into the sky. Aaron was led through wide halls filled with murals and strange symbols. Every step echoed loudly in the grand silence. At last, the guards stopped before a set of golden doors. The doors opened, and Aaron was pushed gently inside. He entered a wide chamber lit by soft blue fire. At the far end sat a figure on a throne made of crystal. She was tall, with silver skin that shone faintly in the light. Her eyes were bright, almost glowing, and her hair floated around her head like strands of silk. She wore a crown that looked as though it had been carved from starlight. The guards bowed deeply. Aaron realized at once that this must be their princess. She raised a hand, and the guards stepped back, leaving Aaron standing alone in the center of the chamber. The princess studied him for a long moment. Her gaze was strong, but there was also curiosity in her eyes. She stood and walked slowly toward him, her steps graceful and silent. Aaron felt his breath catch as she stopped just before him. She lifted her hand and gently held his face. Her touch was cold but soft. Aaron dared not move. Her eyes searched his, as if she were trying to read his soul. Then she spoke, her voice calm yet commanding, in words that somehow reached his mind even though he did not know her language. "You belong to me now, human." Aaron blinked in shock. He wanted to speak, but his throat felt dry. Belong to her? What could that mean? Was he a prisoner? A chosen one? He could not tell. Yet he noticed that her tone was not cruel. It carried weight, but not anger. The princess released his face and stepped back. She turned to her guards and gave an order. At once they left the chamber, leaving only the two of them behind. Aaron looked at her carefully. "Why me?" he asked softly, though he was not sure she would understand. To his surprise, she tilted her head slightly, as if she understood every word. A small smile touched her lips, though her eyes remained serious. "Because you are different," she replied, "and because I have chosen you." Aaron felt confusion rise inside him. He thought of his crew, still waiting, still worried. He wanted to go back to them, but at the same time he knew this was something larger than himself. Something had brought him here. something beyond chance. The princess gestured for him to follow. She led him to a balcony that looked out over the glowing rivers and forests below. From here, the world looked both beautiful and mysterious. Arun felt the weight of her words sink deeper into him. She had claimed him, but he did not yet know if that was a curse or a gift. The suns began to set, painting the sky with streaks of gold and violet. Arun stood beside the alien princess, his heart full of questions. His journey had only just begun, yet already he felt the world was pulling him into a story far greater than he had ever imagined. Arun spent the night in a chamber inside the shining palace. The room was vast, with walls carved from smooth crystal. Strange lights floated like soft stars above his bed. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his thoughts heavy. Why had the alien princess chosen him? What did she mean when she said he belonged to her? He wished he could ask his crew, but they were far away. At dawn, a soft knock came at the door. 2 guards entered and bowed. They gestured for him to follow. Aaron walked with them through long halls filled with patterns of light. At last, he reached a grand hall where many aliens had gathered. Tall figures sat on raised seats, their faces stern. At the center, on a throne of glowing stone, sat the princess herself. The moment Arun entered, whispers filled the hall. Some looked at him with cold eyes, others with surprise. The princess raised her hand, and silence fell. She stood and stepped down from her throne, her silver skin shining under the light. "This human," she said in a clear voice that rang across the chamber, "is under my claim. He belongs to me, and through me, to this kingdom. None shall harm him." The words struck Arun's chest like thunder. Belong to her, belong to the kingdom. He did not understand, but the room reacted strongly. Some of the alien council members stood in protest. "Princess Mira," one of them said, his voice deep, "this is against our law. Humans are outsiders, simple creatures from a small world. They cannot be claimed as if they are one of us. He is weak and unworthy." Others nodded in agreement. Their eyes looked at Aaron as though he were a wild animal, not a person. Arun clenched his fists, but stayed silent. Mira lifted her chin proudly. "You speak as if strength is only in the arm. I say it is also in the mind, in the heart, in the courage to face what others fear. This human has those things. I have seen it in his eyes." Aaron blinked. She believed in him. But why? He had done nothing but stand quietly. Still, her voice carried power. Her people hesitated, unsure whether to argue further. One elder leaned forward. His robe was heavy, and his face was lined with age. "If you claim this human," he said slowly, "then let him prove he is worthy. He must face a trial. If he passes, we will accept your choice. If he fails, he must be cast out, and your claim will mean nothing." Mira's eyes narrowed. She did not like the demand, but she could not refuse. She turned to Arun. "Do you agree to this?" Aaron felt the weight of every gaze in the hall. His mind raced. If he said no, they might throw him into the wild alone. If he said yes, he would face danger he could not even imagine. Yet deep inside, he knew he could not run. Slowly he nodded. "I will face the trial," he said, his voice steady. The hall erupted in murmurs. The council seemed pleased. Mira walked closer to him and touched his shoulder gently. Her eyes softened for a moment. "Do not fear," she whispered so only he could hear. "You are not alone in this." That evening, Arun was led through the palace to a courtyard where alien warriors trained. He watched them move with speed and power, their bodies strong, their weapons glowing with strange energy. Arun knew at once he could not match their strength. Still, he reminded himself of what Mira had said. Courage was not only in the arm. As the sun set, Mira met him again. She wore lighter robes now, her crown gone, her expression more human than royal. She sat across from him at a stone table. "You wonder why I chose you?" she said quietly. "Yes," Aaron admitted. "Why me out of everyone?" Mira looked at him for a long moment. "Because I saw you stand still when others panicked. When my guards surrounded your crew, your companions cried out, fought, or tried to run. You did not. You stood calm and steady. That told me you are different." Aran remembered the moment. He had not thought it was special. He had only wanted to keep his crew safe. But hearing her words, he realized that sometimes small choices carried meaning others could see. Mira leaned closer. "You may not understand my world, but in our law, a princess may claim one being she believes holds rare spirit. I claimed you. It is not slavery, though some may think it so. It is trust, and trust can change the path of kingdoms." Arun felt a strange warmth in his chest. He was still uncertain, but Mira's voice carried honesty. "Tomorrow," she continued, "the council will test you. They will not test your strength because they know you would fail. They will test your spirit, your mind, and your will. If you pass, you will not only belong to me but to my people. They will see you as more than human." "And if I fail?" Aaron asked. Mira's eyes darkened. "Then they will cast you out. I may not be able to protect you." Silence hung between them. Aaron looked at the stars above, twin suns fading into the horizon. He thought of his crew, waiting somewhere far away. He thought of Earth, small and distant. And he thought of Mira, who stood beside him when no one else did. Finally, he said, "Then I must not fail." Mira smiled faintly. "That is the right answer." The night grew colder, but Aaron's heart burned with quiet fire. Tomorrow, he would face the unknown. He was not sure if he was ready, but he knew he would give everything he had, for the first time since he had stepped onto this strange world. Arun felt that perhaps he was not just a visitor. Perhaps he had a place here, a purpose he had yet to uncover. Morning came with a sharp sound of horns echoing through the alien city. Aaron rose from his bed in the crystal chamber. He felt the weight of what awaited him. Today was the trial. Today he would either win a place among the aliens or be cast out into a world he did not understand. The guards came to guide him, their silver armor shining as always. Aaron walked between them through halls filled with carvings of old battles. The eyes of alien servants followed him, some curious, some full of doubt. Whispers passed from mouth to mouth. The human was going to be tested. Few believed he could succeed. At last, Aaron entered the trial hall. It was a vast arena open to the sky, its walls tall and glowing faintly with energy. Thousands of aliens filled the seats above, watching in silence. The council members sat in a row at the highest platform, their eyes sharp. And in the center, waiting for him, stood Princess Mira. She wore light armor, her silver hair tied back, and though her face was calm, Aaron saw concern hidden in her eyes. She stepped forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember what I told you," she whispered. "This is not about strength. It is about spirit. Trust yourself." Aaron nodded, though his heart pounded. The elder council member rose to his feet and spoke in a voice that rang across the arena. "Human Aaron, you are claimed by Princess Mira, but claims must be tested. You will face 3 trials. If you pass, you may remain. If you fail, you will be cast out. Do you accept?" "I accept," Aaron answered. His voice was steady, though his hands trembled slightly at his sides. The first trial began. From the ground, large stone blocks rose, shifting into a puzzle of platforms and walls. Aaron realized it was a maze, tall and complex, with no clear path forward. A voice boomed from above. "Find your way to the center before the gates close." The crowd cheered as Aaron stepped into the maze. The walls moved slowly, grinding against each other, changing the paths. He ran forward, but soon found himself blocked. Turning back, he searched for another way. He knew he could not rely on strength. So he studied the rhythm of the walls, the way they shifted, and he timed his steps carefully. At one point, a wall began to close behind him. Aaron dove through the narrow gap just before it shut, rolling across the ground. Gasps rose from the crowd, followed by cheers. Slowly, step by step, he reached the center, where a glowing crystal waited. When he touched it, the walls sank back into the floor. The first trial was complete. Mira clapped softly, pride shining in her eyes. Aaron gave a small nod, catching his breath. The second trial began at once. From the sky, flying machines shaped like sharp birds swooped down, releasing bolts of light. Aaron had no weapon. He ducked and ran, his heart racing. The crowd shouted as the machines circled above. Aaron searched for cover and found tall pillars rising from the ground. He darted between them, watching the flight patterns of the machines. He noticed that the machines always paused briefly before firing. He used that pause to move forward, hiding behind one pillar after another. Step by step, he reached the far end of the arena where a glowing switch stood. He pressed it, and the machines froze in mid-air before falling to the ground. The second trial was complete. The crowd roared louder now. The human had passed 2 trials. Some aliens who had doubted him began to lean forward with interest. Aaron breathed hard, sweat on his brow, but he stood tall. Then came the third and final trial. The arena floor split open, and from below rose a massive creature, half metal and half beast. Its body was covered in dark plates, and its eyes glowed red. The crowd shouted in awe and fear. The elder spoke again. "Defeat the guardian or fall." Aaron stared at the creature, fear tightening his chest. It was far too strong for him. He could not hope to fight it directly. He remembered Mira's words again. This was not about strength. It was about spirit and mind. The beast charged, shaking the ground with each step. Aaron ran aside, rolling to avoid its heavy strike. The arena shook as its claw struck the ground, leaving a deep mark. Aaron looked around quickly and noticed glowing plates on its back. They pulsed with light each time it moved. That must be its weakness, Aaron thought. He picked up a broken piece of stone from the arena floor and threw it at one of the glowing plates. The stone struck true and the creature roared in pain. The crowd gasped. Aaron smiled faintly. He could not fight it head-on, but he could outthink it. The beast charged again, and this time Aaron ran toward a pillar. At the last moment, he jumped aside. The beast slammed into the pillar, cracking it, and stumbled. Aaron used the chance to throw another stone at its glowing plate. Again, it roared in pain. The crowd was now shouting louder, some cheering for him, others urging the beast to crush him. Aaron kept moving, always staying just out of reach, always striking its weak points when he found the chance. Slowly, the lights on its back dimmed. Finally, with one last roar, the creature collapsed to the ground, defeated. Silence filled the arena for a moment, then the crowd erupted in thunderous applause. The elder council member stood again, his face stern, but his eyes showing a hint of respect. "The human has passed the trials. By our law, he is accepted." Mira stepped forward and smiled, her eyes shining with pride. She reached for Arun's hand and raised it high for all to see. "You see," she declared, "strength is not only muscle. Spirit and courage shine brighter than any weapon." Orpo. Crowd cheered again, though some council members still looked displeased. Arun stood beside Mira, breathing hard but smiling slightly. For the first time, he felt that perhaps he was no longer just a stranger here. Yet deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Passing the trials had earned him a place, but it had also drawn the eyes of many. Some would now respect him, but others would see him as a threat. And in that clash of worlds, Aron's journey was far from over. The day after the trial, the city was alive with voices. Markets were crowded, streets were busy, and everywhere people spoke of the human who had passed the 3 trials. Some praised his courage, while others shook their heads and said it was only luck. Aron did not care much for either. His body ached from the challenges, but his mind stayed sharp. He knew his journey had only begun. Princess Mira had given him a place to rest inside the palace near her own chambers. The room was simple compared to the grand halls, but warm and filled with soft light. Arun sat near the window, watching the alien city below. Towers rose high into the violet sky, bridges curved between them, and glowing rivers ran like silver veins through the land. It was beautiful, yet strange. He wondered if he truly belonged here. That morning, Mira visited him. She wore a flowing robe of white and blue, her silver hair catching the sunlight. Her eyes carried both pride and worry. "You did well," she said softly. "You showed them what I already knew. But know this, Arun. Passing the trial was only the first step. The council will not easily forget their doubts. They will look for another way to test you." Arun nodded slowly. "Then I will face it, whatever it is." Mira studied him for a moment, then gave a small smile. "You speak with the calm of a warrior, though you are not one. That is what makes you different. Come with me. Today you will meet the council again." They walked through long halls filled with guards and advisors until they reached the great council chamber. Once again, the tall seats were filled with leaders in shining robes. Their expressions were unreadable. Aron stood beside Mira, trying to keep his posture strong. The elder who had spoken before rose from his seat. His eyes were dark, sharp as blades. "Human Aron," he said, "you passed the trials of the arena. Yet strength of body and quick thought are not enough to prove your worth. We are a people of order, wisdom, and tradition. If you are to remain under the claim of our princess, you must show more. You must face the test of worth." Aron frowned slightly. "What is this test?" The elder raised a hand, and a servant stepped forward, carrying a scroll covered in glowing symbols. The elder spoke again. "The test of worth is not of combat. It is of judgment. You must listen to the dispute of our people and give your answer. If your judgment brings peace, you will be seen as worthy. If your judgment brings chaos, you will be cast out." The hall grew silent. Aron felt a weight settle on him. He had expected more battles, not this, yet he understood the danger. Making a wrong choice could anger the people more than failing in a fight. Mira leaned close and whispered, "Do not be afraid. Listen with care. Speak with honesty." The elder clapped his hands and 2 groups entered the hall. On one side were farmers with rough hands and plain clothing. On the other side were traders wearing fine robes and carrying boxes of goods. They bowed before the council, then began to argue in loud voices. The farmers spoke first. "Our lands are rich, but the traders take more than they give. They demand high prices for tools and seeds while paying little for our crops. Without fairness, we cannot survive." Then the traders shouted their side. "We travel far, risk danger, and bring goods from across the stars. Without us, the farmers would have no tools at all. We deserve higher pay for our effort. They should be grateful." The hall filled with noise as both sides argued. Aron stood still, his mind racing. He thought of Earth, where farmers and traders had often faced the same problem. He thought of fairness, survival, and balance. Slowly, he raised his hand. The voices fell silent. "I hear both sides," Aron said calmly. "Farmers work the land and give food, the base of life. Traders bring tools and goods without which the farmers cannot grow. Both are needed, both are important. But when one side takes too much, The other falls, and then all fall together. You cannot grow strong by breaking each other. The council listened in silence. Aaron turned to the farmers. You must be given fair price for your crops, so your families live. He turned to the traders. And you must be paid for the risk of your journeys, but not so much that others starve. Share the weight. Set a fair trade that both sides agree, and let the council watch to keep it balanced. For a moment, the hall was quiet. Then the farmers nodded slowly. His words carry truth. A trader crossed his arms but sighed. If it keeps peace, we will accept such balance. The elder leaned back in his seat, his eyes narrow but thoughtful. He spoke at last. The human has given judgment. Let it be recorded and followed. This matter is settled. Mira's lips curved in a proud smile. She whispered, You see, Aaron, this is your strength. Not only arms and legs, but mind and heart. The people in the chamber began to murmur, some with approval, some still doubtful. Aaron felt relief wash over him, though he knew more trials would come. That night, he and Mira stood again on the high balcony looking out at the glowing rivers. The stars spread wide above them. You are changing how my people see humans, Mira said softly. They see you not as weak, but as wise. Some will resist this change, but others will begin to hope. Aaron gazed at the sky, his thoughts heavy, but clear. I never wanted to be claimed. I never wanted to stand before a council. But now I feel that maybe I was brought here for a reason. Maybe this is more than chance. Mira nodded slowly. I believe the same. The visions I saw were not lies. You are part of our fate. The night air was cool, carrying the sounds of the city below. Aaron felt both fear and hope stirring inside him. He had passed the test of worth, but he knew this world still held many, more challenges. And somewhere beyond the horizon, storms were already gathering. The following morning, the sky over the alien city was unusually dark, though the sun still shone faintly. Aaron stood beside Princess Mira on the high balcony, watching the clouds swirl with strange colors. The winds carried a faint rumble, and the glowing rivers below shivered as if sensing danger. This is no ordinary storm, Mira said softly. Her silver hair danced in the wind. The planet's core is unstable. If we do not act quickly, entire cities may fall. Aaron felt the weight of her words. He had heard of storms, but never one that could destroy a whole world. What can we do? He asked, trying to steady his voice. Mira turned to him, her eyes serious. The council will argue again. Some want to evacuate, others want to fight. We must find a solution that will protect as many as possible. I need you by my side, Aaron. Use your mind as you did before. Help me guide them. The two of them walked to the council chamber. The doors opened, and a wave of voices hit them. Immediately. Leaders shouted over one another, fear and anger mixing into chaos. Arun's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. The elder who had challenged him before stepped forward. The planet trembles beneath our feet. If we do not act, our people will die. I say we abandon this world before it is too late. Another council member shouted. Fleeing is cowardice. We must use our machines to stabilize the ground. If we do nothing, we deserve to perish here. The room was a storm of voices, but Aaron remembered Mira's words. Listen, understand, and speak clearly. He raised his hand. Slowly the chamber quieted. Every eye turned to him. Leaders of this world, Aaron began. I understand your fear. I see your anger. But listen carefully. If you fight among yourselves now, no plan will save a single city. We must work together. Humans and aliens alike survive by balance. Your machines, your knowledge, and your people, all are valuable. Alone, each is limited. Together, you are stronger than the storm. Mira placed her hand on his shoulder. Her touch gave him courage. He speaks the truth. she said firmly. We must unite, the council members muttered. Some leaned back, skeptical. Others nodded slowly, recognizing the logic in his words. Aaron continued. We can divide the work, he said. Some will monitor the rivers and support the lower cities. Others will manage the core stabilization devices. Leaders from each group must communicate clearly. There can be no secret, no delay, no selfishness. Each effort must help the other. If we plan this way, we can survive. The elder council member frowned. It is risky. We cannot predict the storm fully. What if your human logic fails? Aaron met his gaze. Logic alone is not enough. We will use courage, skill, and cooperation. But if we fight each other, we fail for sure. Cooperation is our only chance. The hall fell silent. Slowly, some council members nodded, then others. A plan began to form. Mira's voice rang clear. We will divide teams as he suggests. Each city and each machine will have a guide. Arun will help me oversee this. We act as one people. Preparations began immediately. Arun moved among the teams explaining the strategy. He was surprised at how quickly some began to trust him. His words were simple, clear, and direct. Where the aliens were used to strict hierarchy and command, Aaron's approach of shared responsibility inspired confidence. The storm grew stronger. From the sky, strange lights flickered like distant stars. The rivers below roared and swelled. Ground. Tremors shook the city. The council watched anxiously, but Aaron remained steady. Mira joined him on the platform, overseeing the machines. Do you feel ready? She asked. Aaron nodded. I don't know if anyone is ever ready for this, but we have a plan. We must trust each other. Together, they guided the operations. Teams of engineers, farmers, and soldiers worked side by side. Aaron explained steps clearly, sometimes repeating instructions calmly to avoid mistakes. Mira directed her guards and leaders, coordinating every effort with precision. Hours passed, and the storm's power grew. One machine faltered, its core glowing red. Arun rushed to it, studying the controls quickly. He noticed a small misalignment. Using a tool he found nearby, he adjusted the core. Slowly, the glowing light stabilized. The machine hummed steadily again. Mira came to him. You saved it, she said. Her eyes shone with relief. Your mind has kept us alive more than any machine. Aaron only nodded, focused on the next challenge. Other machines faced similar problems. Rivers threatened to flood districts. Rocks fell from cliffs. But step by step, Aaron's guidance and the cooperation he inspired kept the city alive. The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving the city bathed in violet light. The storm had not passed, but the destruction was far less than expected. The council watched in awe. They whispered among themselves, realizing that the human they had doubted was guiding them through what they had feared most. Finally, as the first stars appeared, Arun and Mira stood together on a balcony overlooking the city. The river still shimmered and trembled, but the machines held steady. The streets below were busy with people working, alive with purpose. You did it, Mira said softly. She placed her hand on his shoulder, warmth flowing through her touch. Your plan worked. You saved more than lives today. You saved hope. Aaron looked down at the city. He had never imagined himself here, in a place so alien and dangerous. And yet, somehow, he had helped guide a world through its darkest moment. I didn't do it alone, he said quietly. Your people, your knowledge, they all helped. I just showed a path. Mira smiled, her eyes reflecting the lights below. And yet without you, they might not have seen that path. That is why I claimed you. That is why you are part of our future. The night grew calm, though the storm rumbled faintly in the distance. Arun felt exhaustion, fear, and relief all at once. He knew this was not the end. The planet was still unstable, and challenges would continue. But for the first time, he felt a deep sense of belonging. He was no longer just a human visiting an alien world. He was a guide, a protector, and an ally. And beside him, Princess Mira stood as a friend and partner, trusting him with her people and her world. The night stretched above them, full of stars and silent promise. Aaron realized that he had changed. He was not only surviving, he was becoming a part of something greater than himself. And tomorrow, whatever came next, he would face it with courage. The days after the test of worth passed quickly. Aaron was now known across the alien city. Wherever he walked, people stared. Some bowed lightly, showing respect, while others turned away with cold eyes. His name spread through the markets, and towers carried in whispers. The human who passed the trials, the human who judged fairly, the human under the princess's claim. Aaron himself felt uneasy. He had not asked for fame, nor for this role, yet every day he saw Mira, and every day she reminded him that there was a reason for all of this. On the 7th day, Mira called him to the high balcony at dusk. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky gold and violet. The glowing rivers far below looked like streams of fire in the distance. Mira stood silently, her silver hair moving in the soft wind. Aaron joined her, waiting for her to speak. Finally, she turned to him. "Aaron, you deserve to know the truth. I claimed you not only because of what I saw in your eyes that day. There is something more. Something I have kept hidden until now." Aaron frowned slightly. "What is it?" Mira's gaze moved to the horizon. "I was given visions since I was young. Not dreams, but clear sights of what may come. In those visions, I saw a storm tearing through our world, a storm that would break cities and swallow rivers. Our people could not stop it. But in every vision, one figure stood against it. That figure was not of my kind. It was a human." Aaron's breath caught. He tried to laugh, but found no humor. "A vision showed me? How could that be?" "I was only a researcher, not a warrior or a leader." Mira shook her head softly. "Visions do not lie, though they do not always reveal why. I saw you, Aaron. I saw your face. That is why I chose you. Not out of power, but because you are tied to the survival of my people." Silence stretched between them. Aaron turned to the sky where stars were beginning to appear. His mind raced, a storm that could destroy a world, and somehow he was linked to it. He wanted to deny it, to say it was impossible, but he remembered the feeling he had when she first touched his face, as if fate itself had marked him. "What kind of storm?" he asked finally. Mira's eyes darkened. "Not of wind or rain, a storm within the planet itself. Our seers say the core is restless. Great quakes are coming, floods of fire beneath the ground, waves that will drown our cities. We have technology, but it is not enough. The Council cannot agree on a path. Some believe we must abandon the world. Others say we should fight to hold it. But no answer brings peace. That is why I trusted the vision. That is why I trusted you." Arun's chest tightened. He thought of Earth, of home, of small storms that already seemed so dangerous. Here, he faced the end of an entire world. "I don't know if I can help," he admitted. "I don't even understand your machines, your laws, your ways." Mira's eyes softened. "But you understand people. You saw the truth between the farmers and traders when even the council struggled. You saw weakness in the beast and used your mind instead of force. Your strength is not in our ways, but in your own. That is why you matter." For a long while, Arun said nothing. He felt the weight of her words press on him, heavier than any trial he had faced. Yet deep inside, he knew running away would bring him no peace. He had been brought here for a reason. Perhaps the vision was true. At last, he said quietly, "Then, tell me what I must do." Mira's lips curved in a small, relieved smile. "There will be a meeting tomorrow. The council will argue again. I want you beside me. Speak if you must. Show them what I have seen in you. And together, we will face the storm." That night, Aron could not sleep. He lay in his crystal chamber, staring at the floating lights above. He thought of his crew, still waiting somewhere beyond the palace walls. Did they believe he was lost? Did they know he was now standing at the center of a world's fate? He also thought of Mira. Her voice carried power, yet her eyes held trust. She had chosen him when no one else had. She had placed her people's future on his shoulders. It frightened him, but it also gave him strength. The next day, the Great Council gathered again. The chamber was filled with voices before the meeting even began. Council members shouted across the hall, their words sharp and heavy. "The ground shakes already," one declared. "We must leave this world and seek another." "And where will we go?" another snapped. "No world welcomes us. We must stay and fight for our home." Others argued for half measures, plans that pleased no one. The hall rang with anger and fear. Then Mira rose, her presence silencing the room. Aron stood beside her, his heart beating fast. "My people," Mira said clearly, "I bring not only my voice but the voice of the one I claimed. His name is Aron, and though he is human, he has already shown wisdom beyond what you expected. Hear him now." The eyes of the council turned to Aron. Some were doubtful, others cold, but all waited. Aron took a breath and stepped forward. "On Earth," he began, "we too faced storms, quakes, floods. We survived not because we were the strongest, but because we learned to work together. Some wanted to flee. Some wanted to fight. But those who listened, those who shared, found a way to stand. If you fight each other now, your world will fall even before the storm arrives. But if you unite, if you use your strength with your wisdom, you may survive." The chamber grew quiet. Aron saw some council members exchange looks. The elder who always challenged him narrowed his eyes but said nothing. Mira placed her hand on Aron's shoulder. "You see why I chose him," she said firmly. "He speaks what many of us forget. Alone, we will fall. Together, we may yet rise." The meeting ended without full agreement, but something had changed. The voices of doubt were softer, and the eyes of many were turned toward Aron, not with scorn, but with thought. That evening, as the sun set once more, Aron and Mira stood again, on the balcony. The storm had not yet come, but Aron could feel it in the air. The path ahead was unclear, but one truth now stood firm in his heart. He had not been chosen by accident, fate, vision, or chance. He was here, and he would not turn away. The dawn broke over the alien city, painting the towers in soft gold and violet. Aron stood beside Princess Mira on the balcony, looking down at the streets below. For the first time in many days, the city felt calm. The storm had passed, leaving behind only a few scars and the memory of fear overcome. Mira turned to him, her eyes reflecting both relief and pride. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said softly. "You guided my people through the greatest danger in generations. They now see humans not as outsiders, but as allies." Aron shook his head slightly. "I only did what needed to be done. You and your people fought hard, too. Without your guidance, nothing would have worked." Mira smiled, her hand brushing against his. "Perhaps. But it was your mind, your calm, your courage that made them listen. That is why I claimed you." For a moment, silence stretched between them. The wind carried the soft scent of alien flowers from the gardens below. Aaron looked out at the city, at the glowing rivers and the quiet streets. He thought of the trials he had faced, the beast he had outsmarted, the judgment he had given, and the storm he had helped to survive. Now all of it seemed to come together. He understood that this world, strange and vast, had given him a purpose. He was no longer simply a human far from home. He was a part of something larger. The council gathered later in the day in the great chamber. Aaron stood beside Mira, his presence now respected. The elders nodded at him, some with smiles, others with thoughtful expressions. He had earned their trust through action, courage, and wisdom. The elder who had challenged him the most stepped forward. His eyes were sharp, but his voice carried a note of approval. "Human Arun, you have proven that your mind and spirit are as strong as any warrior. You have guided us when fear could have destroyed our world. For this, you are accepted among us. You are no longer only a visitor, but a part of this world's future." Aaron bowed slightly. "Thank you. I will continue to do what I can to help." Mira's hand rested lightly on his arm. "You have already done more than words can say. The people will follow you, trust you, and learn from you. And I will stand by your side." Outside, the citizens of the city celebrated quietly. Machines hummed steadily, rivers flowed without danger, and bridges held firm. The storm had tested them. But now, a new era of cooperation and understanding was beginning. Arun walked among the people, seeing their faces for the first time with calm eyes. Many recognized him, bowed or nodded. Others whispered thanks. He felt warmth in his chest he had never known before. That evening, Mira brought Aaron to the palace garden. Soft lights floated among the trees, and gentle streams reflected the twin moons above. She led him to a stone bench overlooking a small pond. "Sit with me," she said. "We have faced much together. Now we can breathe, if only for a moment." Aaron sat beside her. He looked at the pond, where tiny glowing fish moved beneath the surface. "I never imagined I would find myself here," he said quietly. "I never imagined I could be part of a world like this." Mira's eyes met his. "And yet, you are. You have shown that one human can make a difference, even among a civilization far older and stronger. You have taught my people courage, patience, and balance." Aaron smiled faintly. "I only did what I felt was right. Perhaps that is all anyone can do." She reached out and touched his hand. "That is enough when it is done with heart. You have given us hope, Aaron. You have changed the course of our world." The night grew quiet. Stars spread across the sky, and the twin moons cast silver light over the gardens. Aaron felt a sense of peace he had never known. For the first time, he felt truly at home in this alien world. Days passed, and the city rebuilt where the storm had left minor damage. Aaron continued to guide, teach, and help wherever he could. His connection with Mira grew stronger, built on trust, respect, and the shared experiences of trials and danger. Together, they worked to ensure that the city would never be unprepared again. The council no longer doubted him. They listened to his suggestions, sought his guidance, and slowly began to see the wisdom of combining human insight with their own knowledge. The people of the city, once divided, now worked together in harmony. Traders and farmers exchanged goods fairly. Engineers and soldiers coordinated to maintain stability. Aaron's influence spread quietly, like ripples in the glowing rivers below. One morning, Mira called Arun to the balcony once more. The city stretched below them, vibrant and alive. "Arun," she said, "your presence here has changed everything. I claimed you because of a vision, but now I see it was more than vision. It was fate. You belong here, not because of law, but because your heart and mind earned it." Aaron felt a swell of gratitude. He had been afraid, uncertain, and alone. But now he understood that courage, wisdom, and compassion could build bridges between worlds. He looked at Mira and nodded. "Then I will stay, and I will continue to help. Not because I must, but because it is right." Mira smiled, her silver hair shining in the morning light. "And together, we will ensure this world thrives, no matter what comes." As the suns rose higher, Arun gazed across the city. For the first time, he saw not just an alien world, but a place where he could belong, a place where he had made a difference. The future was uncertain, as all futures are, but he felt ready. He had faced trials, storms, and judgment. He had learned courage, patience, and trust. And now, beside Mira, he would face whatever lay ahead. The city was alive, the people were strong, and Arun had found his place among them. A new dawn had come, not only for the city, but for him as well. He was no longer only a human in an alien world. He was part of its future, a guardian of hope and a symbol of courage.